Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining me on Close to Death. I'm your host, Selena Roane. This is powered by FEAR Paranormal, and you're listening on DTM Wicked Radio. Tonight I have a really cool guest of mine. He is a twin brother from another mother and the founder and lead investigator of Ghost Quest Paranormal, Jeremy Leonard. What's up, Jeremy?
What's happening, sis?
Oh, man, I'm ready for Tombstone. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to...
Me too. I just got all my ticket information and everything sent in. We got, less than a month to go? Well, we got, a month and a half to go? I'm ready.
I know, right? We had such a great time, you guys at Sloth. Jeremy, tell the audience a little bit about who Jeremy Leonard is.
Well, Jeremy Leonard is the founder of Ghost Quest Paranormal. Before I started my own group, I was part of the Paranormal Society. We had a regional TV show. It was seen in Louisiana, Mississippi, parts of Alabama. I was with them for about close to 2 years. A case happened that kind of changed my life, and I kind of stepped away from that to pursue my own team. That way I could be in control of everything that goes on, other than just, doing a TV show. I've appeared on When Ghosts Attack. I've appeared on the Destination America Swamp Monsters, and I've appeared on the Weather Channel, American Supernatural, The Curse of Julia Brown.
Yeah, buddy, you've been all over the place, and you got the South pretty much covered over there in Ponchatoula and Hammond, Louisiana, huh?
Yeah, it is funny. I've been able to do things since I branched off on my own that, I never thought I'd be able to do. I've met a lot of really interesting people that not only helped me in my field, but also helped me knowledge-wise. And it always seems that I meet the right people at the right time to expand, Ghost Quest and expand my knowledge and where I hope to be in the future.
Yeah, when we've been talking online for a while, but never actually got to meet until we went to Sloss. And, man, that was, what'd you think about Sloss?
Sloss is one of those places to where it's hard to describe the emotions and the thrill of the hunt unless you're actually there. I mean, when you read back into the history of Sloss and how these people were basically slaves to this corporation. And, they didn't even get paid money. They got paid in what you call store money, which means they can only buy stuff at the company store. And the danger, even as the place is shut down, it was very dangerous for us, walking around there in the dark, because it really gives you the sense that, any day on a job there, one wrong turn and that's it. You're done for, And
yeah.
It's one of those places that has so much energy that it's amazing. And I got the privilege of using an experimental device called the Mind Machine while we were there. And, wow, that's all I can say about that. I've seen things and I felt things that, I didn't really think was possible. And I mean, unlike your senses, you kind of see it with your psyche eye, which is your third eye, but under this machine, you actually see it with your eyesight. So it's kind of a difference in, how you would see things and sense things and a paranormal investigation to using this device where it's actually more of a physical thing.
Yeah, that was crazy. Now, they hooked Blaine up to that sucker too now. And it was so weird because I'm like, I was kind of nervous about it. I'm like, I don't know if I want you controlling my brain waking up or not. Just hold up a minute. Let me see somebody else do this. And when they put Blaine on it, you could hear, first we heard a growl, and then we heard a lady scream. And it was like, what in the hell was that about? And he was describing things that he was seeing, like spirits standing next to me and stuff, and they caught an actual pretty cool picture of you while under that machine, did they not?
Yeah, what happened was I was seeing a man pacing back and forth with his arms behind his back, when I would ask him to talk to me, and he wouldn't, he would just shake his head. And he would just kind of fade in and out where I could see him, then I couldn't. Well, at the end, his face ended up like 3 inches away from my nose. And I told him, I was like, wow, he's right in my face. And they said, well, we're going to bring you back down, which means they're going to shut down the left side of your brain and reopen the right side of your brain. And as they did this, I'm seeing literally with my eyes a pinkish, like, river of water flowing from right to left. And then I remember her saying, you're almost down, and then it stopped. And the water started going in reverse. And the second they brought me down, they had a professional photographer there that was taking a series of pictures, and you see this big plasma ball right on top of my head. And the second they brought me down, it formed into a perfect cross.
That was crazy.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, we got some really amazing stuff there, you know. I mean, like you said, the feelings were so intense from, you know, the residual from the workers there, you know, and I was even picking up on stuff like that because my friends were like, what is wrong with you? Why is she pissed off? And I wasn't pissed off at anybody. But my face was showing my face was showing what I was feeling from them. And it was like they were dreadful. They were hating their jobs. They felt like they were stuck like Chuck, you know, and miserable. And they did. They were like modern day slaves kind of to Sloss furnaces, and they just paid them with those little clacker things or whatever they call them. And
that's
you know,
the best way to describe it.
Yeah, they were just like little pieces of whatever, and you take them into the store, and that's the only place that you could sell, spend them at. And so, you know, and they jacked the prices up on stuff, and it wasn't like they had a big variety of stuff. It wasn't like a full-fledged, you know, big, huge chain market, you know, that you could go get whatever you wanted to. And it was really bad, you know, the conditions. And like you said, one wrong step, and, you know, we didn't have to deal with the molten, you know, the hot, you know, soldering, you know, iron stuff. We didn't have to deal with the fires or heat I mean, it was extremely cold while we were there, but it wasn't as cold as I'm sure it got. And they didn't probably have 4 and 5 layers of clothing on like we did.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, the thing that I thought was pretty solid about that whole event, besides the way that, you know, Carol and Darkside took care of us so well and made sure that we were all, you know, you got food, you got water, you got good, you know, anything you need. I mean, besides that, I mean, when do you get to go to an event when they set someone on freaking fire?
Yes, not once, but several times.
I know, right? It's like, shoot, that was the coolest thing. And you know, I mean, they're trying to prove a point about, you know, in the history books, there was a guy that supposedly his clothing caught on fire, and he ran 123 feet, I believe it was, and then fell and died. Well, they were trying to say, is it by acceleration? Did somebody throw an accelerant on him? Or did it actually just spark from his clothing? And, you know, the way it looked, what do you think? I mean...
Well, you know, I think, I really think both could be possible, you know, but I think that, you know, according to where he would have been standing, and you have to go back to the conditions of the way these people worked, okay?
Right.
People were very brutal back then. They didn't have workmen's rights like they do now. You know, people were bullied. You had, you know, the people that were just downright mean. And the way Sloss operated was, you know, if you were an immigrant or something like that, and they just basically would throw your body into the hot molten lava. So, you know, it would not surprise me one bit if somebody threw some kind of accelerant on them.
Right.
You know, because even if you have something, you know, pop out, it's going to take a while, you know, at least a couple of seconds before that flame gets out of control. And you would have thought that he would have had enough time to put that out. But yeah, I mean, I kind of lean more toward I think he was murdered.
Yeah, I do too. There were so many crazy things at Sloss, and we got so many amazing. We all had amazing experiences. There were people getting touched. There were people getting scratched. There were psychic attacks on my friend that went on Thursday to do the walkthrough with us. You know, there was just a lot of things that happened at Sloss, and we're going back, which is the coolest thing. Next March, we're going to be back, so we can we can go a little further into places that we didn't get to, experience and see what happens. But that place was like off the chain.
Yeah, it was, and that was my, my first event, really. I mean, I've done the Paracon in New Orleans and stuff like that, but, that's right there at home, so I don't really consider that to be the same. But, that was my first time being, speaking publicly in front of other paranormal investigators, and, I was worried, because you know how the paranormal field is.
Yeah.
But, I have to say, I was so welcomed with open arms by Carol Malone and her husband. I mean, and Carol couldn't do enough, to make sure we were taken care of and the guests were taken care of. I mean, she literally spent the whole 3 days running around like a chicken with her head cut off. So, she worked very hard. She worked very hard to try to give people the best experience that they possibly can. And, for me being an outsider coming in, I have to say it was absolutely wonderful. Down like to the people. I mean, I met lifetime friends. I met you, Blaine, Scotty, just
Gary.
Of course, Gary. Leave Gary out. But, I mean, I met these people, and, we all have a core interest that we're all drawn to. And people, these people are unselfish. They want to spread their knowledge. They want to teach you. That's one thing about Blaine. Me and Blaine's been talking, and, he teaches me things that, I don't know. And you always have a saying, especially in this field, knowledge is power. And,
that's exactly right.
If para-unity actually exists, it exists within our little small group, which we call our tribe. We call it our tribe, and it really exists there.
Yeah, it does. And, what's so cool is, about the Sloss event, because of how well that, and we had to deal with some jacked up conditions when it was 21 degrees and the wind was blowing like crazy. And Carol was so worried about everyone getting pneumonia that we moved it inside into the hotel on one day because it was so flipping cold and we couldn't even spoke. And she was so worried about her guests and everything that she moved it to the hotel, and we didn't really skip a beat. We didn't miss a beat. And the thing about us is that because of all that, we formed, like you said, a tribe, a family, a para-unity that we are all about promoting one another, because that's what it's really about, not tearing each other down, promoting one another and being there for one another and sharing the knowledge. Because I believe, we were filming Spirit Quest there, and the whole premise of Spirit Quest is that we learn from each and every person that we come in contact with, whether they're alive or they're spirit. You know what I mean? We learn something from them. And I loved meeting Gary and you and Blaine, because all of you guys are different in your own ways, and you have different things to bring to the table. And then we have Connie and Becky and Susie and, all of them, Scotty and all of the girls, and they just bring so much, and Tammy, they just bring everything to the table. All of us together make a pretty damn good para-family. And, I really cherish what we've got, and I think it can exist within the whole paranormal community. We just have a couple of, people in our community that are kind of hateful, and that's what they do. They don't like people having success, so they go after them. And, that's where we don't do all that. We're very positive, and that's what I love about you. It's so funny because Tammy said, you and Jeremy look like y'all are freaking twins, man. I swear to God.
It's the haircut.
I know, right? So we're so hot.
Yes, indeed. Well,
yes, indeed.
What's that show? I forget what it is, where the two guys, I forget what it is. It's a movie that came out a while back. The two guys, they go to the nightclubs and stuff, and they think they're cool, but they're really the biggest two dorks ever.
Oh, yeah. You talking about the brothers? Will Ferrell and them?
Yes. That's
What is love? Yeah. Yeah. I'll remember it in a minute. But yeah, so, we talked at Sloss, and I loved your presentation because, demonic things are things that I kind of stay away from. And if it is demonic, I'm not going to run away from it. I'm going to call somebody who's equipped to handle it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to leave the person in jeopardy or just standing there because I'm not educated in that field, I guess, or portion of the field of the paranormal. So tell me a little bit about, you know, your case that you've been working on, the one that was kind of demonic in a sense.
Well, you know, that case is kind of what really led me to break away from the team that I was with and started my own team, because I wanted to, after that case, you know, I was touched by this case, and that's where I wanted to go and start studying demonology afterwards. And, you know, the team that I was with was really solely about, you know, just documenting paranormal activity and stuff like that. Well, you know, we started out, like I said, we got a TV show. You know, we were filming all these shows. Well, we got a case, we got a call from a friend of the client's that was really concerned. And, you know, she told us what was going on. And, you know, we were like, well, you know, we really don't do that stuff. You know, we just document paranormal activity. But, you know, she basically begged, you know, my cousin to go check it out. And so finally we did. And we went there Wednesday night, I think. And I remember, you know, when I first saw Joy, which is the client, I mean, you're looking at an 80-year-old, you're looking at about a woman that weighs about 80 pounds. She has Parkinson's disease. She moves real slow, you know, kind of like she's 80 years old. It's basically what it was. And, you know, she's sitting here telling us this crazy story about all the activity that's going on, and, you know, is messing with her kids in a sexual manner and everything. And, you know, that caused a wrap your mind around, because at that time, all I knew about it supposedly demon was they were evil. That's it. I didn't know anything else. You know, and I remember sitting there listening to her tell this story, and I'm kind of like chuckling under my skin, underneath my breath, because I'm thinking she's crazy. Okay, this doesn't happen. Well, after she got done talking, I grabbed the K2 meter, and in the house has this big giant hallway going right through the middle of it. It's actually an old farmhouse, and a newer part is built onto the old part, and where the new part meets the old part, there's actually a hallway there. And the master bedroom is to the right, and straight across the hallway to the left is a big bathroom, and it has a double base sink and a mirror that goes all the way across one wall. And you know, I walked past the master bedroom, and I just felt really creepy. You know, I've been on many ghost hunts before. I felt creepy, but this was just something different, you know. And I turned to go into the bathroom, and my K2 meter goes all the way to red. And it's just fluctuating back and forth, taking out all the way to red. And it done that for about 3 or 4 seconds, and then it stopped. And I happen to look up in the mirror, and I see this man thing standing behind me. And he had to be about 8 foot tall, 7, 8 foot tall, because his head come up to the top of the door frame. And that's how I know. I think a door frame's about 8 foot, something like that. And he was really odd. His head was shaped like an egg, kind of come to a point at the top. And he was bald-headed, and it just kind of come to a point. And his arms, as he stood, you know, straight up, came past his kneecaps, which means he had really, really long arms.
Like a Slender Man or something like that.
Exactly. You know, that's the best way that I can describe it. He looks like the Slender Man. But his face, you can make out 2 eyes, okay? And the rest of his face was real distorted looking. You couldn't make out any features. You couldn't see a nose, you couldn't see a mouth or anything like that. And it stood there. This wasn't one of those things where you see something out the corner of your eye. I actually made eye contact through that mirror. Oh, it seemed like an eternity, but I would at least say 3 to 4 seconds before he just vanished. And, you know, later I learned through studying demonology that a demonic entity cannot take the perfect shape of a human being. There's always something odd about them. There's always something missing. Sometimes they'll be missing an arm or a leg. They may not have no eyes or anything. So, you know, that just confirmed that, you know, I was dealing with a real demonic case, even though I didn't find this out until after after, after everything was said and done. But, yeah, I still say it was a truly, one of those true demonic cases. And apparently, the original thought was, what started the haunting was, she had went to the Myrtle Plantation, which is a huge tourist attraction. Thousands of people go there every year. And she captured an orb, which she thought was an orb. But when I looked at the picture, I mean, I could see where some people would think it was an orb, but my opinion was I thought it was dust. And you could see a face in there, a little face, and it looked like it had fangs. And she'd become obsessed with this picture. Okay, and we thought that is what opened the door, because something like that, I just couldn't see a demonic entity follow you home from a plantation. Well, later we found out, the true story of how the haunting started, but I'm not going to tell it here. If people want to find out, they can check out her book. She wrote a book about it. It's called Out of the Darkness by George Benson. And I'm actually writing a book about, my encounters with that. But, I have to say, if a demonic haunting is 1 in a million, then that was the one out of a million. And, since then, the odd thing is, since then, these type of cases, whether it's demonic or dark energy, seems to find them. Every call I get, I don't ever have anyone call me up and say, hey, I think I have Casper in my house. Can you come check it out? People that call me for some reason are always in dire need, and they're having all this stuff going on in their house, and they're basically afraid for their life, And it's odd how that happens, but that is literally, 99% of the calls that I get.
Wow. That's so weird that, that happens, because the cases that I've gotten, I mean, there's been some nasty entities and stuff like that, and I don't really think I've dealt with anything on the demonic level at that, at that stage, but that's not what I, am strong with. I'm strong with cases with, children or, relatives or something like that, but I've never encountered really anything real bad nasty except for like once or twice, and it wasn't even that nasty. But, when we were talking earlier about possibly the fact that Lent, it's Lent right now, and a lot of these cases sometimes you were saying escalate around this time. Is that right?
Yes. I talked to other demonologists in the field that's been doing it for a long time, and that's something that they all say, especially they say, within the past 5 to 10 years, activity has really spiked. I mean, used to be, you talk to some of the old timers, they may actually do 1 or 2 true demonic cases a year, but in the past 10 years, they say it has, quadrupled. And another thing is that they say that during Lent, because it's holy, it's part of, from Jesus died on the cross to the resurrection, from Lent to Easter, is really, when they really, really get active.
Well, that makes sense. What's so strange is that I'm wondering if these things aren't picking up the activity with the demonic and the more evil, darker entities. I wonder if it's not picking up because of not only the Lent portion of it, but because our society is pretty much going to crap. I mean, it's kind of scary out there, you know what I'm saying? And it's not seeming to get any better, and it's kind of really scary. So, my grandmother used to always preach to me before she passed away. She would, every time she would hear something really bad on TV or whatever, she'd go, it's Revelations, it's Revelations. I mean, man, quit talking about that. You know what I'm saying? Because about the only part of the Bible that that stood out to me was that part, the end of the world. And, people are saying sometimes that this demonic activity picking up could be a sign that is what's going on. What are your thoughts on that? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, that and just hauntings in general. I mean, if you read the Bible, it says toward the end times the dead will rise. And I think that's possibly why you have all of this paranormal activity going on in general. Now, do I think it existed throughout time? Yes, and maybe we didn't hear about it as much, as we do today because of social media and things like that, and you got a gazillion ghost hunting groups out there, but, I mean, and I think that, you got to think about it. And I don't push religion down anyone's throat. I think everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I have my religious beliefs because of what I see and what I've dealt with. And, this is the devil's playground. People don't have the spiritual beliefs that they once did, even say 50 years ago, 30 years ago. You have more atheists today than you've ever had, and
right.
You have a lot of evil people out there. People are becoming more selfish to where they only care about themselves instead of caring about others, as if, when my parents grew up, neighbors actually helped each other. You seen someone broke down on the side of the road, you help them fix their tire, or stuff like that. Nowadays, you can't do that because you don't know if that person's going to kill you or not. So
right.
Think about it. The evil in the world is magnified times 10 than it was 50 years ago. And, that negative energy gives these beings,
lots of energy to work off of.
To thrive, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, because negative, isn't it the negative always breeds negative? And, that's why if, me being an empath, I have to get rid of any negative in my life. I can't take on any more. I take on enough. I mean, I have people coming to me out of the blue and telling me things that I have to keep secret, and it's like I'm good at that, but holy crap! I mean, this is like life or death stuff, and that's tough, to deal with and stuff. But I understand why they come to me. I get that, but with all this negativity and stuff that this world is breeding with the hatred and the racism and all this stuff that is totally unnecessary. It is breeding. It is breeding a lot more, I believe, negative activity, because the spirits are like, are y'all freaking just so stupid you can't get it together? I mean, come on, you're alive, do something with it. Quit bickering amongst each other, or attacking one another. And if we had more positive out there, I think, it would do a hell of a lot more good, and we could probably have a lot less of these kind of cases. But, unfortunately, the way things are going, it's really kind of scary.
It is. It's very scary.
It's really scary. And I have a 13-year-old, and I'm like, holy crap, what is it going to be like? Because it's changed so much from when I was 13. And you look at it now, and I know that it's because of social media. I know we see a lot more hate and a lot more, abuse and a lot more, animal cruelty and all this nasty stuff that we never had to look at before because it's in our face now. And it's all over the place. And then, when people see it, then they, if they're sick in the head, they copycat it, and then it just kind of, it's almost just like it's breeding it,
Well,
but you got to talk about it,
That's a good example how mankind can take something that was created for good and turn it into something that is evil. Mankind has that, that niche that we could take something that was created for good and turn it into something negative.
Yep. And unfortunately, that's, we have to deal with that. And, I hate that we have to deal with that, but I'm hoping that the example that you and I and the rest of us that are, speaking at these events, I hope that we give something back to where it'll enlighten people to maybe kind of let that wall down a little bit and maybe start, kind of caring a little bit more about each other. I don't know.
I mean, we do so, when you really think about it, let's just say you get a case from a client that, is upset or nervous or scared of stuff that's going on in her house, And you go in and you do a paranormal investigation, and you maybe do a cleansing, to get rid of whatever's there, or, you consult to them and tell them, it's nothing to be worried about. You touched that person's life. You were able to help her. You helped that person. And, that is all the gratification that, you could ever ask for. You actually helped change someone's life, You may have done it in a small manner, but you actually touched someone's life, and that's something that'll live on forever. And, you know, I think that that is what, you know, the paranormal field really needs to be. But, you know, it's funny because I've been on both sides of that spectrum. You know, I was a thrill hunter. I'm all about I'm going to be famous. I'm going to be on TV. You know, I'm going to be a rock star. I'm going to go to all these events, wear my sunglasses and my hat. I'm going to be the rock, you know. And
Right.
That's how I was in the beginning. I'm not going to lie to anybody, you know. That's what drove me. I was going to be famous. And then that, you know, that one case came that I was not prepared for, and I had no way of knowing how to help these people. All I knew was there was a woman and 3 little children that was in desperate need of help. If it didn't stop, someone was going to end up dead. It was just a matter of time. That's how bad it was. And even though I did not know what I was doing, I refused to walk away and leave them hanging with nowhere to go, no one to consult to. You know, even if I did the small parts of, you know, talking to Joy on the phone and giving her my advice. Now, whether she took it or not, you know, that was up to her. But I was there for her anytime she needed me. And, you know, that is what it's about. When you really think about it, that is what it's about. I would choose being able to save one family's life or save one family from busting up from a family from a negative force any day than I would have my face plastered all over TV. Now, granted, it makes a couple $1 million and make it, well, worth it, but, you know, well, it's really right. It's really about helping people. And I think most people, whenever they first get into ghost hunting, you know, that is what they're in it for. And then, you know, they might get their team in a newspaper article or something like that. And then, you know, then it becomes a little bit more, ooh, you know, I want to get a TV show. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. By no means there is nothing wrong with it. You get a TV show, that is great, you know. I mean, but just trying to make helping people, you know, just a little
Still
bit
your priority.
important. But yeah, just a little bit more important than you know, becoming on TV. You know, if you go out there and you really care about your clients and you help your clients and you do good work, eventually you're going to get noticed for that.
Right. You know, and I mean, you know, we started out, you know, our first case was actually very near and dear to my heart. You know, when we started FEAR, I lost a cousin of mine. At the time, it was like 9 or 10 years at that point that we lost him, suicide by cop. And he was giving little signs to his brother in the house that they lived in together. He would leave like little coins lined up outside the bathroom door, and his brother was like, "What the hell?" You know. And so, you know, he called us out there, and we did an investigation, and we had a lot of activity, a lot of contact with my cousin, and, you know, it was a very emotional case. And if that, you know, my teammates were connected at that point, you know what I mean? That was our first real big case, you know, like with our camera system and all that. So that was it, you know, and we were just so excited, and it really touched us. And from that point on, when we saw what it did for my cousin, you know, and her son, you know, that had passed, and you know, his brother, it was like, even though it was my family, it was still like, yeah, that's why we do this. That's exactly why we do this. And sometimes you get the big, you know, event things, and you know, they're cool and everything, and they're your dream locations, but the ones that really stick with me are the one I can help have that answer or that message that is conveyed, you know, and to give somebody a little bit of peace. I mean, I'm not a psychic or medium or nothing like that, but when they give you a message, when there's something that they want them to know, and they can convey that to us in an EVP or whatever, man, there's nothing like that. You know, even if it's just that little bitty tidbit, you know, if I'm here, and it's, you know what I mean? It's just comforting to them. So that is exactly what drives me to do it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, there's no better feeling than that, you know, to make a connection for someone, you know, to let them know that, you know, your Uncle Joe's here, or Aunt Susie, or, you know, your mother, whatever. I mean, that really touches people's lives, you know? I mean, and just to see somebody smile, or, you know, just to see somebody's face that, you know, they're relieved of their stress, because, you know, you is they want one investigation and move on to the next thing. Sometimes it takes more than that. And, people really start to trust you and believe in you when they see that you've taken the time to really help them instead of just, kind of rushing through something. You have two different types of investigations that I like to tell you. You have stress-free investigations, which are fun, and they're supposed to be fun. You laugh and joke, and somebody, feels something touch their leg, they can scream and do all that they want. And then there's the investigation that comes with the heavy heart. You're there to help somebody because who else is there? Who else is there for them to call?
Right.
And that can be very stressful.
Yeah. But the thing that is so extremely cool is that, when I got into this, it was because I'd lost my mom, and then I lost my best friend. And I wanted to talk to both of them, and I wanted to communicate with both of them. So, you talk about studying every kind of aspect of how to contact the other side. I have read up on it. I have studied it. I have done everything I know to do to contact, and that's, what I started out wanting to do was that my answers that I needed for the questions I have. But, when you start doing this, it opens up more questions. It opens up more things to you, and the further you get into it and the more people that you meet and get a different perspective, you learn how to do maybe something a little bit different. And, that's the cool thing about the events that, like, say, we're going to go to Tombstone here in May. And Tombstone's going to be huge. We got pretty much the whole flipping town. And this is like a dream location for me. Top 5 of bucket list. I don't know, have you ever been to Tombstone before?
No, I haven't. I would definitely say it's on my top 5 too. Tombstone, going back as a kid, watching old Wild West shows and stuff like that. And, I was always the type as a kid, you may think I'm weird, but you know how in the 30s and the 40s they didn't have TV, they had radio shows. That's what they had.
Right.
And, when I was a kid, even today I'll listen to them on my iPhone, like old-time radio shows, like the Old West shows, the Lone Ranger and stuff like that. It's part of my childhood, because I was big into cowboys and Indians when I was a little boy. And, now, 20-something odd years later, probably close to 30-something odd years later, I'm able to actually go to a place where that stuff that, I read about and I listened to on these radio shows actually happened. How cool is that?
And not only that, but, so much history in each freaking park. Just walking along the dirt road is going to be amazing because, God, the movie Tombstone itself, I've seen over 100 times. I freaking love that movie, and I'm like, I get to walk on the same streets that Sam Elliott and Kurt Russell and Val Kilmer and them walked on. That's just so awesome to me. And then you go into the bird cage, and you got, so much stuff. But there's been so, like Justin and Chip Coffey were in Tombstone, I think it was last, maybe a year and a half ago. I don't know. It was June when we were filming, right before we started filming Shadows. I don't know. It was in June a couple of years ago. And they were there, and Justin, I think, was at another location, but Chip was there at the birdcage with 10 or 11 other people, and they were kind of back away from this table that's 100 and some odd pounds, solid wood table. And all this equipment's on top of it, and everybody was kind of sitting back so that nobody would bump the table or jack with any of the equipment or, whatever. And all of a sudden, the table lifted up off the ground and then slammed back down, and equipment went everywhere, and people were screaming. And, of course, Chip said he said a couple of expletives that I'm sure someone has on audio somewhere. But, there's that, and then there's the murders that happened there, and then there's the shootouts, and then there's Boot Hill, and I'm just, overwhelmed with do we have enough time to get everything? Because I want to get everything in. What is your, top where are you, like, dying to go to when we get to Tombstone? And there's no pun intended there, because we're hoping nobody does.
Yeah, I think I'd have to say the OK Corral.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I mean, that to me is just, you know, you hear the stories of the stuff that, you know, with Doc Holliday and all that at the OK Corral. And I think it'll be amazing to actually walk into this, you know, the building. And I would imagine that these buildings have changed very little over time. So when you walk into these buildings, you're basically looking at the way it would have been in the Old West, and, you know, some of the gunfights and all the stuff that has happened. It's just, you know, I get excited thinking about it.
Yeah, me too. And you know, we may even, you know, the two ghost towns that we have those. We have the Occidental, we have the Birdcage, we have Four Deuces now. I believe it's called, isn't it Four Deuces? And
yeah, Four Deuces.
Yeah, we get to do something in there. We get the courthouse. I mean, the VIPs do. I don't know how many tickets are left, but I swear, you guys, if you missed out on this, you're missing out on a lot, because we've got people there that have so many years experience, you know, researching and investigating, and, you know, Steve Huff, and then we got Justin Spurrier, who's been 20 plus years in researching. We got Blaine, we got you, me, Gary, and we got Santiago, and then we got Randy and Kevin. I mean, and there's a psychic named Rick Hayes that's going to be there. So it's going to be like a really cool event. And if just for a day pass, I mean, you got to come out here and check this out. I mean, how many times do you get to actually do Tombstone, Arizona? And I mean, these people are down to earth and cool people. They're not, you know, we're all going to be, you know, investigating right there with you guys, and, you know, showing you the things that we know. And, you know, we all know different stuff, so you're going to learn all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah, and not only that, there's going to be a couple of big-name celebrities that's actually going to be there as a guest, so we can't really say their names on air, but, yeah, go there and check out and find out who they are. I mean, these are very big-name people, and I'm really excited to meet these guys. Yeah, and to, you know, just like Selena said, I mean, you know, if you think about it, I mean, you're getting more than your money's worth. For one, you're getting to spend a weekend and investigate Tombstone, Arizona, which a lot of people do not get to do that. There are a couple of locations that nobody has ever investigated that we're going to be able to investigate. You're going to get to hang out with all kinds of cool people. And, you know, these people, if you come up and you approach them and ask them questions or want to talk to you, they're not going to shut you off. By no means. They will sit there and talk to you for an hour if you want to. That's just the kind of people that are involved in this. And, you know, it will definitely be an experience that you will be glad that you attended, because, you know, these opportunities don't happen very often. And if you're a fan of the paranormal, you know, I can tell you, what better place to go and investigate than Tombstone?
No doubt. And I mean, you know, since Carol and her team are going to be there, you know, they're going to be doing some forensics work too, and that is going to be bad to the bone, because we had that at Sloss. You know, they did the blood work at Sloss and proved that it was human blood there. So, I mean, I can't wait to see what they pull out of Tombstone.
I can't either. I think Carol and her team is a very unique team, and they really spike my interest, because they take, you know, old school homicide detective work and mix it in with the paranormal field, and that is something unique. You know, there's not anybody out there other than Carolyn that I'm aware of that does that. I mean,
well, no, they're pretty much the godfather of it.
Yeah, it's very unique to watch, you know, what they do, and to hear some of the philosophy that Carol talks about, you know, how they go about solving unsolved murders and stuff like that. And, you know, you talk about helping people, you know, there you go. I mean, they're able to mix, you know, detective work with the paranormal field to give people answers, you know, to what happened to their loved ones. And, you know, what better way of helping people? You know, it's amazing.
And how cool is that? You know, I mean, she's, you know,
nice.
Carol has even offered to teach a little bit of forensics to me, and that'll add a little dimension to my team. You know, not that it's not, you know, because she's pretty much got that market cornered as far as, you know, the forensics and the detective work and the paranormal all wrapped into one. But I was just really excited to see, you know, some of the stuff that, you know, we captured at Sloss. And we're going to take this same exact stuff and do some forensics in Tombstone. So I think it's going to be extremely exciting to see what comes about. And I'm like, what are you exactly looking for in Tombstone forensically? And she goes, well, you're just going to have to wait and find out. So even though I'm, you know, talk to Carol almost every day, I'm going to have to wait just like everybody else. But, you know, we also got Santiago Carrillo. I think you say it Cirillo because I don't want to mess it up. But Santiago's from The Walking Dead. He was like in the season where they had the prison.
With the governor, the evil
governor.
With
the prison thing. Yeah, the prison riot or whatever it was. Yeah. So I'm excited to meet him too.
They got so many Walking Dead fans out there. That's what I say, you know, you'll get to meet a lot of cool people. And I know I'm a big Walking Dead fan. So, you know, I'm excited to meet somebody that was, you know, on the show Walking Dead. I mean, that's pretty big in my book. I mean, you know, call me a geek or whatever, but Walking Dead, it don't get no better than that.
Oh, no. And, I mean, my son is totally a freak about The Walking Dead, so I have to get Santiago's autograph for him. So, I mean, he's a really cool guy. He's down to earth. He's real, you know, he's a veteran, you know, and, you know, I'm excited about the whole entire thing. But we were going to talk a little bit about, we got like, I think, 10 more minutes. So I was going to try to touch a little bit on your book because you have taken on something that I cannot do because I have ADD so bad. So tell us about becoming an author.
Oh, well, yeah, as I said earlier, I decided to write a book about my paranormal experiences and Joy's case, which is the Mount Hermon case. Joy had written a book about it, but Joy's book is more of a religious standpoint of, you know, how God, how can you let something like this happen to me? You know, her battling her faith in the Lord, which I must say Joy is a very, very big Christian woman. And, you know, that's basically where her book comes from. My book is going to be more towards the actual paranormal events that happen, and the name of the book is going to be called The Dwelling, an Evil Entity. You know, what my book is basically about is it touches a little bit of how I got into the paranormal field and what it was like in the early days. You know, it was fun. We were thrill seekers. And how me walking into this case, you know, not knowing how to deal with anything like that, but, you know, my love for this family wouldn't let me just walk away from it. So it actually shows how I evolved, you know, through the case from becoming, you know, from being a thrill seeker to becoming an actual paranormal investigator and, you know, started my path into demonology. So, and one thing that I stress in this book is I tell all that I failed on, you know, all my fails. I put it out there, I lay it on the line, you know, things that I did in that investigation that because I didn't know what I was doing, I probably made things worse. You know, I literally put it out there, you know, to let people know that, you know, I'm not expecting you to become a demonologist, you know, or anything like that, but always be a little aware of what can happen. You know, and if you run into a case like that, sometimes, you know, you just need to let someone else handle it. And that may have been what I should have done. But there was no one else to turn to around here. You know, I live in the South, and people are very superstitious down here. And there's not a whole lot of paranormal, you know, alleys to take to get people to help you. I mean, I even went to a preacher. I remember I went to a preacher, and I asked him to help me, and, you know, his response was, son, you shouldn't be dealing with that. And I was like, sir, I understand that, and I'm not going to stop, but I need your help as a family involved. I don't want no part of that. I need to help her at least, because there was nowhere else to go. Now, eventually, I would like to say in a perfect world, we got rid of this thing, and everything was hunky-dory, but that's not what happened. And ended up selling the house, and, you know, it still affects her life to this day. She's going through a divorce now. She's raising 3 kids on her own. Joy has been really, a hard hand in life, and I'm hoping that she'll be really rewarded for it in the afterlife. But, that's basically what the book is about. It's about my accomplishments and my failures, and kind of where it's taken my life, how it's changed my life, because it has. There's not a day that goes by I don't think about some of the events that happened in that house. I always like to say it's a modern day Amityville horror. It was one of those things that you see in a movie, really, but it happened in real life.
Wow.
And I just hope that, if anybody reads that book, they just kind of get where I'm coming from, that, sometimes we have to step back. Sometimes we have to do what's right, and if you're going to try to take on the task, you need to know what you're dealing with, because these things
or have the right people with you that do, or have the right people at your, resources that you do.
Right.
At the time, you didn't have that,
And that comes in with para-unity. People need to
Right.
understand that, instead of fighting one another and saying, oh, your stuff's bad, you this, you don't know how to do it, you should always, if you don't have something good to say, don't say nothing at all, because one of these days you may walk into a situation when this person over here can help you, but you done burnt your bridge with this person.
Right.
So here's a family that's not getting help that they need because of that.
Because of some petty BS.
Goes to show you the importance of para-unity.
Right. And we definitely, I'm proud to say that we definitely do our best to exercise para-unity, and as an example to the community, if they would just come to this event, they can see what we're talking about. We work very well together. All of us got along just like, and I think better than an actual family, because I think I fight with some of my family members sometimes, so we got along really, really well. And, since then we formed a bond.
The only one I fight with is Blaine, and that's because he's hard-headed. Sometimes you can't help but fight him.
Just best
man. I have to say, Blaine is kind of my mentor. When Blaine speaks, I listen. And I love hearing some of his knowledge, because Blaine comes from a different point of view than I do. Blaine's more of a spiritualist. And I learn something from him every day. And like I say, I totally have faith in everything he tells me, and he does. So when he talks, I listen. But,
it's kind of good, because he's a spiritual warrior, and you're in training to be a demonologist. So you get two different sides, but just like I said, don't we learn from each other? And we always bring something different to the table, but you have to be able to sit at the table with the people to understand what they got to bring. And that's where all this paradrama I can't stand comes from, and that's why we stay far, far away from it. We keep our group very positive. We help support each other, and that's the way it should be. Successful people build each other up. They don't tear each other down, because that's going to come back and bite. I'm all about the karma thing. So when the karma bus comes, it's going to pick me up for a good reason and not run over me for a bad one.
Right, exactly.
So I'm going to get to ride inside,
Before we run out of time, I want to see the book. Hopefully the book's going to be out right around November, December. It'll be called The Dwelling.
I'm glad.
Dark Entity. And, I hope people check it out. I put a lot of sweat and tears into writing this. One of my main focuses is I want people to really feel what I felt. See what I seen. And I know it's kind of hard to put that on paper, but, I think I'm doing a pretty good job at it. I just want people to really feel what I felt. And, I hope they enjoy it.
Well, I appreciate you coming on my show tonight, and if people want to get tickets to Tombstone, they need to go to Haunting at Tombstone page on Facebook. Jeremy, where can they find you real quick?
They can find me at Jeremy Leonard, which is my personal page. It's Jereme, Leonard, Leonard, or they can find us at the Louisiana Center for Paranormal Research, in parentheses, Ghost Quest.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it, brother, and I will see you very, very soon and talk to you even sooner.
All right. You have a good one.
All right, Jeremy. Have a good one. All right, everybody. I appreciate y'all tuning in tonight. Next week, I'm going to have Gary Brown from Spirit Equipment. We also have a couple of announcements. We have the Ozarks Paracon, March 28th, which is this weekend. Get your tickets. You can go to Ozarks Phenomenon, Ozarks Phenomenon, and get your tickets. And I'm going to be speaking in McKinney for Tex Park Paranormal on April the 4th at Chestnut Square. That is in McKinney, Texas. There is History, Haunts, and Legends, April the 11th in Jefferson, Texas. Tyler Paracon, April 25th in Tyler, Texas. May 1st through the 3rd is Tombstone, Arizona. Phenomenon, which is in York, Pennsylvania, is June 18th. Then we have, in July 18th, a Supernatural Expo in Louisville, Texas. And in September, I believe it's the 25th, is Gulf Coast Paracon. I want to thank my sponsors, Syntex Roof Systems and Paranologies. And again, next week, Gary Brown with Spirit Equipment. Everyone have a great week. Peace out.